In today's lesson, we're going to be using the distributive property to find the area of a figure. You may remember using the distributive property when we learned how to multiply. When you had a large number, we used the distributive property to break that number into two smaller parts, and then we added those two parts together. So in today's lesson, to start finding the area of this figure, we're going to be looking at the whole figure first. You notice that it's broken up into two parts, this part right here and this part right here, but we're going to start by looking at the whole figure and finding the area. So to do that, we're going to start by looking or counting the rows that we have. So if I count the rows in the whole figure, I have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows. So I'm going to start by making a 5 right here. And now I'm going to count how many rectangles are in each row. And again, I'm looking at the whole figure. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at this whole figure. And again, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 rectangles in each row. So down at the bottom, that's going to be my first part of this step. I'm going to say 5 because I have 5 rows times 8 because I have 8 in each row. And I'm going to put an equal sign, but I'm not going to put the answer here. I'm going to put the answer down here. So 5 times 8, I know is 40. So that's going to be my first step. I count how many rows I have and how many are in each row, and then I write that at the bottom. This is my rows, 5 times 8, which is how many are in each row, and I put my answer underneath. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the smaller piece. So let me outline this part here because we're going to be now finding the area of this smaller part of the figure. So we know that we have 5, so I'm going to put the 5 because my rows haven't changed. I still have 5 rows. So I'm going to say 5 times, and now I've got to count how many are in each row, but I'm only looking at this small part, the first part. So if I count, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to count these because that's the other part of the figure. We haven't gotten to that yet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to put a 4 right here to show there are 4 rectangles in this figure in each row. So I have 5, which is my rows, times, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch for a minute and we're going to look at this piece here. And we're going to do the same thing. So let me just do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this the same because we know we still have 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to stay the same. But if I look at my number here, how many are in each row in this smaller part? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, I'm going to put a 4 up here because in this part, I have 4 in each row. And in this blue part, I have 4 in each row. But if I look and I add 4 plus 4, I still get a total of 8 altogether because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my total is 8, but I broke it into 2 parts, 4 and 4. So down at the bottom, if you look at what we did, we kept the 5 the same because I have 5 rows, but now I'm going to break that into 4 plus 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 5 times 4 plus 4. So I have 4 here and 4 here. I'm adding them up. So when I look at this, I have 5 times 4 plus 4. This is still going to be 8. I do my parentheses first, bring down the multiplication sign, and I'm going to bring down the 5, and 5 times 8 is still going to be 40. So once again, just to review this part, we got the 5 because there are 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 rows altogether. And what we did at the top, we broke it into 4 plus, I can even put a little plus sign here, 4. And 4 plus 4 equals 8. So then if I multiply 5 times 8, I'll get 40. So that's my second part of this problem. Now there's one more part that we're going to look at, and I'm going to do that one in green. So for this one, what we're going to do, and this may look familiar, you may remember this from our distributive practice that we did with multiplication. We have our 2 sets of parentheses. So our third part of this problem is going to be looking at just the smaller part. So how many rows do we have? We've got 5 times how many are in this smaller piece, the blue piece? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put the 4 down here. So we have 5 times 4 here. And if I look on this side, how many rows do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put the 5 here times how many are in each row in the yellow part? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Now I'm going to solve it. So what is 5 times 4? You should know that it's 20. I'm going to bring down my plus sign. And again, 5 times 4, that's this piece, is 20. And what happens when I add 20 plus 20? What do I get? 40. Good. So the last thing that I want you to understand, and I'm going to do this in my fancy dotted line, is that when we have these problems, these distributive problems, we have 3 different parts. This is my first part. 5 times 8 equals 40. That's the whole thing. How many rows and how many are in each row, or how many columns. That's going to be your first part. Your second part is going to be right here. And your second part shows you how many rows. We know we still have 5 rows, but this is showing us that we broke up the top number, that big number, the 8, we're breaking it up into 2 smaller parts. 4 plus 4. And that's how we got this part. And we're still got 40. 40 equals 40 equals, and here's our last piece, which has to be the same because we know an equal sign means the same. So this piece, we got 5 times 4 because we have 5 rows times 4 in each row in that blue piece. So it's 5 times 4. And if we count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You come up with 20. And the same thing on this side. We have 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. And again, if we count these up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And when you add these two parts, the blue piece and the yellow piece, you're going to get a total of 40 because you have 20 plus 20 equals 40. Hopefully that helps you understand how to find area using the distributive property.